Ellen White Vision on Health and Temperance. The Call to Care for the Body and Soul. It was the summer of 1863, and the air in the small town of Otsego, Michigan, was warm and still. The Civil War was tearing America apart, and everywhere people were anxious, weary, and fearful. Yet, in a modest home filled with prayer and quiet devotion, Ellen was about to receive a revelation that would not only change her own life but transform the way thousands of people around the world would think about health, faith, and the human body. Ellen had long struggled with physical weakness. Despite her tireless ministry, writing, traveling, speaking, her health often faltered. Long journeys in wagons, sleepless nights, and poor nutrition had taken their toll. On that June morning, she had gathered with a small group of believers for worship. As they prayed together, she suddenly felt surrounded by a divine presence, the same sacred light she had known in earlier visions. In that moment, Ellen was taken into a vivid experience, one that felt as real as life itself. She saw people everywhere suffering from disease, weighed down by illness that could have been prevented. She saw tables loaded with rich, greasy food, people consuming alcohol, tobacco, and stimulants that clouded the mind and poisoned the body. She saw overwork, lack of rest, and indulgence slowly destroying human vitality. And she heard a voice, clear, solemn, compassionate, saying, "Your body is the temple of the Spirit of God. Care for it, that it may glorify Him who made it." Ellen saw, too, how closely the mind and body were linked, how physical habits affected spiritual life. If the body is weakened, the voice told her, the mind cannot clearly discern the things of heaven. But if the body is kept in purity and balance, the soul may rise freely toward God. When the vision ended, Ellen sat in silence, overwhelmed by what she had seen. It was not just about food or medicine. It was a message about balance, discipline, and reverence for life itself. Her husband, James, watched as she wrote page after page, trying to record every detail before the impression faded. Over the following months, Ellen began to share what she had been shown. She urged people to care for their health not out of vanity, but out of gratitude, because the body was a sacred gift. She spoke against tobacco and alcohol, warning that these substances enslaved the mind. She advocated for fresh air, sunlight, rest, simple foods, and pure water. At first, many doubted her. Some thought her ideas were strange, far ahead of her time. But Ellen was calm and steadfast. "God showed me," she would say, "that health is part of holiness." Years later, science would confirm much of what she taught. Her emphasis on plant-based diets, exercise, and temperance in all things would prove revolutionary. Hospitals and sanitariums built on her principles began to appear across the United States and later around the world. Physicians and nurses inspired by her writings founded new institutions where spiritual and physical healing were treated as one. Ellen herself lived by the health message she had been given. She began to follow a simple diet, worked outdoors whenever possible, and encouraged others to adopt natural remedies instead of harmful drugs. Even as she grew older, her energy astonished everyone around her. She could travel for days, write for hours, and speak to crowds without losing her composure or clarity. But Ellen never claimed the message as her own wisdom. She always insisted it came from a higher source, from the Creator who had designed both body and soul in harmony. "It is not fanaticism," she wrote, "but the work of reform that restores us to the divine pattern." The health vision of 1863 became one of the cornerstones of her ministry. It taught that faith must be lived not only in prayer and belief but in daily choices, in how we eat, rest, work, and care for others. It was a message of wholeness, a divine reminder that to honor God fully, one must respect the life He has given. To this day, that single vision continues to echo through hospitals, schools, and homes around the world. A call to live in balance, to cherish the body as a gift, and to remember that holiness begins with the smallest acts of discipline and care.